When you're working in a business setting, one where you're going to be dealing with customers, you have to acknowledge that sometimes things aren't going to be pleasant. While not every customer will be a scammer, you do have to worry about people not believing what you're telling them and sometimes raising their anger levels because they're not getting what they believe they deserve. And when you're in a pawn shop, those levels can lead to some tense deals and moments. Sadly, Rick Harrison and the others at the gold and silver pawn shop have had to deal those people many times. We'll break it down for you. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
What do we got here?
I have an amazingly rare gun.
Amazingly rare.
Yes. The Smith and Wesson 320 revolving rifle. They only made 977 of them.
People who collect Smith and Wessons, this is the crown jewel right here. It's really rare.
The Smith and Wesson. When you're dealing with a pawn shop kind of thing, guns are something that often come into the store. You always have to be careful with them, but if you get the historical kind, it can be big money. Such as when a woman walked in with an incredibly rare Smith and Wesson pistol. And to be fair, she did bring in a really rare version, as this wasn't just a Smith and Wesson. It was a Smith and Wesson 320, of which there was only 997 made. So that's instant rarity, especially considering these guns were made quite a while ago, and not all of them would be in good shape. One of the ironies of that particular gun was that it wasn't actually a pistol, but a modified rifle. Smith and Wesson wanted to toy around with a prototype and made the 320, but it didn't exactly sell well due to its bad design, and thus why there was only like 1,000 made. And this is where things got tense, because while the gun was a classic gun of history in its own right, it didn't have all the parts, specifically the parts that would convert it into the rifle that we mentioned. So when Rick asked about it, the customer said she threw it away. Yeah, she did that. And she said she did it because she didn't realize it went with this gun. That was a costly mistake, as Rick notes that it was valuable on its own. Oh, but it got worse because when Rick called in the expert, he said that the stock, just as an old piece of wood, would be worth over $5,000. Can you tell we're still not done laying in the blows? Because it wasn't in the best condition. It was only worth $1,000 at max. So she went from having a $7,000 piece with the stock and barrel to getting $1,000, and you knew that Rick wasn't going to let that be the selling point. Thankfully, he didn't drop things down too much, and a deal was made at $875. Now, yes, this wasn't actually an angry customer, but you could tell the frustration that she had and her desire to get as much as possible despite the bad move she made by throwing away the stock.
Full barrel, you could get north of $15,000. With this, it's in relic condition, but it does have the original grips. These are vulcanized rubber grips, and those are quite hard to find.
Okay.
So what's it worth? Between $800 and $1,000.
Are you serious? Is that it?
I think as a dealer, you buy it and you hope you find the guy that needs the grips.
3. Abe and Mary Lincoln photo. Now let's step things up a notch by talking about a customer who brought in something truly rare, a photo of Abraham Lincoln, the former president of the United States, and his wife, Mary Todd. As Chumlee notes right off the bat, that's something rather odd because Lincoln was famous for only having pictures taken by himself and not with him and his wife. Another thing that made this picture unique was the kind of film they had to use to take the picture. You had to stay really still, as Rick explains to Chumlee. Yeah, we should be glad we don't have to deal with that ourselves. So let's get to the deal now, okay? Because this is going to be funny to talk about. After the customer reveals where he got the picture, he revealed that because it was 1 in a million, he wanted $1 million for it. That's a bold ask, and we're going to tell you right off the bat that Rick wasn't doing that. That went double when the man admitted that despite getting it from a collector, he didn't have any official documentation that it was in fact the Lincolns, but Rick wouldn't dismiss him outright and thus brought in an expert. And oh boy, did it not go well. The expert fairly noted that there were potential inconsistencies that showed it wasn't the Lincolns, including certain facial features that didn't line up to other historical pictures. And then, when she used facial recognition software to look into it further, she enforced that it wasn't Abraham and Mary. And as you're seeing, the customer wasn't happy with that analysis at all, even saying that she wasn't just wrong, but that she was threatening her career by saying he wasn't right. Rick naturally sided with his expert, and no deal was made, and we're sure that guy wasn't coming back to the pawn shop for numerous reasons.
I checked the eyes, and they're a match.
Okay. But
You can see that this woman has sort of a different eyebrows.
I don't want to be difficult here, but I feel I'm an expert.
I've been doing this for a really long time.
Okay.
So your opinion is it's not real?
It's not.
Thanks for coming in. You're the best.
Thank you.
2. Julius Caesar coin. Going even further into the history books, we have a customer who claimed to have a coin from 44 AD with a portrait of Julius Caesar on it. He was, of course, the first dictator of Rome, and while he is famous, he's also someone who was famous due to his death and how his once close allies killed him. Easy come, easy go, right? But anyway, having a coin from that period of history is impressive, especially since he said it was made about a month before Caesar was assassinated. A bold claim. Even with that claim, and an ask of $4,400, Rick knew he had to have it because it was a potentially really rare coin. After bringing in an expert, they confirmed it wasn't just a real coin, it really was made a month before Caesar was killed, even telling the tale of how many felt it led to his death. So if it wasn't authenticity that sparked the customer's ire, what was it? Well, the expert noted that the coin wasn't in the best condition, which you can see from the close-ups of the coin. And his estimation was that the coin was worth $1,500. Oof, the customer was not happy about that at all. And when Rick took the side of the expert, the customer refused to budge from the higher prices he wanted from the coin. So no deal was reached, and the customer said he was going to keep the coin until he found someone who appreciated it. Good luck with that, and hail Caesar.
It's a 2,000-year-old coin with Caesar's face on it. Do you mind if I have someone look at it?
Sure, please. Strike is perfect. The style is correct. Everything is right.
Okay.
It's perfectly genuine. $1,500
Retail?
retail.
Okay.
To me, it seems almost ridiculous that somebody would sell it that low.
1. World Series ring. Sports items have come into the gold and silver pawn shop more often than you might think. They've gotten everything from jerseys, both real and fake, to championship rings from various legendary teams. And one customer continued that last trend when they brought in a World Series ring from the 1995 Braves. This was a very special team, as they had some incredibly dominant pitchers. It had been their first World Series win in about 40 years, and they didn't win another one for almost another 30. So having a ring from that team would be very special indeed. The man wanted $13,000 for it as he and his wife were moving to another country. Corey noted that Rick loved getting these rings, and they can bring big money if you get the price right. Despite some reservations from the customer, they brought in an expert to verify everything about the ring, and that's where the problem started. Corey himself noted that it wasn't a player ring, it was a staff ring, but it could have been the owner's ring, Ted Turner, which would have hiked up the price, but the expert noted that it wasn't actually a staff ring. Instead, it was a salesman ring. What's the difference? Well, think of this ring as the sales pitch. Pun intended. The ring was used to show off to the team so that they would approve it, and then they would make the rings for the staff and the team. So it was basically a prototype ring. Granted, and by the expert's own words, there was still value in the ring, but it wasn't anything close to what it would have been if it had been a more official version. He priced it at only $2,000. Oh, the customer didn't like that at all. Not only did he call the expert a bozo, but he swore that he'd never bring another ring into this shop. So yeah, no deal. That's what we call a strikeout.
You mind if I have a buddy come down and take a look at it? I think it might be Ted Turner's ring, which is kind of crazy. I mean, what do you think it might be worth?
Unfortunately, this isn't even a staff ring. With the original box and everything, you're looking at around $2,000.
I was really disappointed. They bring some bozo off the street. I don't know where he came from. All of a sudden, he comes through the door and he's Mr. Expert on baseball. So, I don't know. I was really disappointed.
And there you have it, everyone. A look at the times when the Pawn Stars had to deal with customers that didn't always leave happy. Were you proud of the Pawn Stars for how they handled the situation? Which of these customers do you feel was the worst of the bunch? Or do you know of another customer that was worse than these? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.